How does Shasta College Humanities 4 through film studies? How is your humanities going? How was your Thanksgiving and all that good stuff? Um, my video is really breaking up. I hope this is going to tape okay. We'll see. Anyway, today, we're winding down the class. We only have about 2.5 more weeks. I hope you've seen all the assignments because I've assigned everything. Final essays due today. Then there's another paper kind of summing up everything. And then there's your journal, which I haven't opened up for you to submit yet, but I will do that next week because I don't want you to submit too soon. Submit until the last minute. Okay, we've covered a lot, but we haven't covered hardly anything. We've just scratched the surface of cinema, what it's capable of, the art form of cinema is all you have to do is look at your Marvel universe. 32 Marvel films now. This last one, Mrs. Marvel, have you seen them all? It's maybe they've had their day because the box office is a little bit down. These movies cost a lot of money to make, and they need to make a lot more back. To give you an example, this is old school now from a couple years ago. I don't know what it is now. In the old days, if you made a movie, let's just say you made a movie for $1 million. Okay. Then you had to advertise it, you had to market it, you had to pay everybody a good fee to live on in that $1 million. And then that takes about another $1 million to do all of that. Now you've got $2 million you got to pay back. And then you release it to movie theaters, and only 10 people show up, and your movie makes $100. You've got a bomb on your hands. You can't pay the debt off. It did not make its money back. The rule of thumb was whatever your movie cost, it has to make 3 times that amount back. So if you made a movie for $1 million, you'd have to make $3 million back in order to start turning a profit. That's and so now if these Marvel movies cost $200 million to make, they have to make $600 million to break even. It's a big gamble, and most of them don't make it. That's a lot of money to have to make back, okay? In the box office or streaming or wherever they make their money. Anywho, cinema goes outside of itself and goes into art, it goes into literature, it goes into myth. Movies like Metropolis, which we've watched, Citizen Kane, Streetcar Named Desire, Lawrence of Arabia, Apocalypse Now, Goodfellas, Seventh Samurai, Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down by Pietro Almodovar, who I've never really spoken about because I'm not doing a lot of international cinema here. I'd like to, but we don't have time. Maybe I'll talk about Pietro next week or later on this week. Um, these, those films are epic. Lindsay Anderson, a great director from England who didn't direct that many films, but he made a couple epic films. One was called If, one was called Oh Lucky Man. What is an epic? Well, an epic's a story that's written large. Like Star Wars is an epic. Indiana Jones, these are big stories. Big, huge stories done on the big canvas. and now they become mythical. A movie like Jaws, which changed everything, we went from modest returns at the box office to $100 million. First time it ever happened. Now they become part of the cultural landscape. Even if you haven't seen them, you've heard of them. That's how big cinema is. In the 1920s, when cinema was just getting started, somebody came up with the idea of animation. There was early animation, which I'll show you a documentary on it. Look for it on your usual module site. And people were intrigued. Now, in animation, you could do anything. You don't have to adhere to the laws of gravity. You can have people walking upside down. You can have people flying. They don't have, there's no such thing as reality in animation. You could be as surreal as you want, meaning you could take reality and put it on steroids and make it animation. And a guy by the name of Walt Disney did that. He started off modestly. His first animations were about animals. A mouse. Maybe you've heard of Mickey Mouse. He animated a mouse who could talk. Who would have thought? Well, in animation, mice can talk. Animals could do whatever. They could do whatever humans do. They could go to work with a briefcase. They could drive a car. You could do literally anything with animation. Walt Disney is the godfather of that world, and he was taken seriously. It just wasn't for children. In the 1930s, he made Fantasia, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, in I believe 1939 or so. No, never seen anything a world like this. He took fairy tales and made them come to life. That's a revolution. That's insight to an artistic art form that had never been done before. And he was the kingmaker of that for many years. You've heard of, maybe you've been to Disneyland. That was all based on his reality, art, Walt Disney's reality of how he perceived life. And people have taken it from there. In Japan, they have what they call anime. You're probably a fan of it. Hopefully, you are, because they do some incredible, beautiful, subtle work on a mythical, epic landscape of a perceived reality that cannot exist. But when it's human and we see ourselves in the animation, it can exist. A great example of that would be this movie that came out 10 years ago called The Triplets of Bellevue. I'm going to show you guys a preview. Look for the preview. I'll post it. It's a French film, a French animation film that was all hand drawn. Took them years to do it. No computer generated, none of the easy stuff. No Pixar, which is beauty in itself, but it's a different thing. Walt had a Walt Disney had hundreds of artists drawing painstakingly his art films. Well, this guy from France did the same thing, except for he didn't have the money or the finances or a studio behind him. He had to do it old school with a lot of hard work. Triplets of Bellevue covers a human story on an epic level. You'll never see a more original movie than Triplets of Bellevue. And there's no spoken words. It's all sound effects and music. So you don't have to worry about reading subtitles. What draws us to these animated films? How many times have you seen Frozen or Little Mermaid, or perhaps your kids, or you grew up on it, or Aladdin, over and over and over again? Because they create a magical world that is takes us out of our world, puts us in another world, but we understand that world because it's showing us a mirror up to ourselves, but through the artistic landscape of drawings. All you have to do is look at one Roadrunner and Coyote video, if you know what I'm talking about, to understand that laws of physics, laws of gravity don't have any place in animation. How many times did the coyote blow himself up? How many times did the coyote fall off a mountaintop at 10,000 feet and hit the ground? He was in the next scene. It's hard to kill that wily coyote because it's animation. And we look forward to his demise because he dies every episode many times. We get amusement out of it. Why? Well, because it's reality on steroids, and we know it's a drawing. We can laugh at the coyote's demise because at the end of the day, he's just a drawing on a piece of paper. But he has a lot of personality. He has a lot of soul. He just doesn't have a body or a heart, or he's not breathing. So animation could take us outside of ourselves and put us into this other world. We cannot be denied our dreams. Crosses over to television. How long has Family got and Homer Simpson been on the air? Over 20 years, folks. We still tune into it. Family Guy. Stewie is a talking baby. Is he talking? Really? Is he really talking? I don't think the adults hear him. The dog, Brian, hears him because, well, the dog talks too, folks. So the dog can hear him, the baby can hear the dog talk. Do the adults hear the dog? Or are they treating him like just a pet that they're trying to converse with and they think they're talking to him? Why do we keep tuning into Family Guy every week? I've seen all the episodes, by the way, because it's first of all, it's hilarious, smart, and they can get away with things in animation that we can't get away with in live action films with real actors without being without the critics really being very severe. Because in an animated world, almost anything goes. You can make Hitler look funny, and they have. He wasn't funny, folks, but in an animation, he could be funny because it's not real. Or is it? Talk to you on Wednesday. Get your papers in. I will extend this last essay. A few of you are going to be late. I'll extend it a couple days just for you. Take care.